Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be sharing my biggest book haul of all time. Alright guys, so I'm normally pretty good about filming book hauls as soon as I acquire a decent amount of books. However, that did not happen, so towards the end of the summer, I was purchasing a lot of books, and then it was my birthday, and I was gifted a lot of books, so there's over 40 books in this book haul, so this is probably going to be a little bit of a longer video. I did break this down by genre, so if you're looking for a specific genre, definitely check out the timestamps down below. I'm going to start out with special editions, and then fantasy romance, etc. So yeah, definitely check out those timestamps. And if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's get into this book haul. Also, before I get started, I wanted to share one of my recent purchases. So the shirt I'm wearing is actually my zodiac sign, which is Libra. It is one of the only inanimate objects in the zodiac, and I still don't know how I feel about that. I kind of wanted to be a cool animal while I was growing up. But also, I feel like Libra, I'm very much a Libra. I fit a lot of those, like, personality types. But anyway, the shirt is from my book goddess. She has all the different zodiacs, and all of these shirts are absolutely gorgeous. So definitely check her shop out. And you can also use my code HF10 to save. So starting off with special editions, first up we have the Mind F series, and this is by St. Abbey. So this is the Mystic Box special edition. I'm sure you've been seeing it all over Instagram. I have only read the first 3 books in this series, but I'm absolutely loving it. It definitely has like Dexter vibes. We're following this girl who ends up being attacked. Her brother actually ends up passing away during the attack, and she's also S.A'd. So she ends up recovering, however, she has faked her death, and she decides to get revenge on everyone who wronged her in the past. And then she ends up dating an FBI profiler who's actually profiling her. So it's really, really fun, so good, and I cannot wait to finish this series. And next up is the Ravenhood series special editions. I actually got these a while ago, but I never featured them in a video, and I wanted to show them off. So we have Flock, and then Exodus, which is the second book in the Ravenhood series, and then the Finish Line. And at first, I wasn't really sure how I felt about these. I felt like they were very discreet. I kind of wanted a little bit more. But then I realized that all of these books came, let's see if I can find it, with artwork, and this artwork is stunning. If you know, you know, Rainy Days. The artwork makes it so much more sad. But anyway, I'm obsessed with this series, and I am so happy that I was able to get these special editions. I know they sold out pretty quickly, and they were very pricey, but I'm obsessed, and I just love showing them on my shelves. And this next special edition actually just got delivered, so my husband brought this box in as I was filming this video, so I only unwrapped the first book, but the first book is stunning. So this is Broken Bonds by J.Bree. It is the first book in the Bonds That Tie series, and I'm obsessed with the series. It is my favorite paranormal YChu series. I love all the bonds, specifically Nox and North. They are my faves. But then Oleander is just such an overpowered badass, and I love her so much. So if you have not read the series yet, definitely do so. But now for some real talk, and I really try hard not to be negative in my videos. I really dislike negative videos, but I am really, really frustrated. So this series, the special editions were supposed to be delivered back in May, and it is the last day of September when I am filming this video, so tomorrow is October 1st, which means these books are unbelievably late, and I totally understand delays, shipping issues. I'm very forgiving when it comes to that. My issue is I've only ordered 3 special edition series from the bookish box, and 3 of them, so 3 out of 3, have been over 4 months late, and I just think that's kind of ridiculous. Especially because I will email the website they have and ask for help and things like that, and I either don't get a response back, or they pretty much tell me to look at the shipping page, and when I look at the shipping page, it just says that they're experiencing delays. It doesn't really help you at all. So I also saw a lot of my friends that received these books all the way back in July, so I'm really, really frustrated. So I probably will not be ordering from the bookish box again, just because waiting months every single time I do a special edition, on top of the fact that it normally is about 5 months when your expected delivery is anyway, It's just kind of ridiculous. Now, I will say I am not part of their subscription service, so their monthly boxes, they might come on time, so like don't take my word for that. I actually don't think I know any friends that have the monthly Bookish box service, but when it comes to special editions, the delays are just kind of ridiculous. So that is it. That is the end of my rant. I apologize once again for the negativity. It's just I'm super frustrated and I wanted to kind of vent my frustration because I talk to you guys the most. But anyway, I am so excited to see what the rest of these books look like. I'm just absolutely, oh, they're so pretty. They're so pretty. So anyway, if you have not read this series yet, definitely do so. All right, so moving into fantasy romance. First up, we have Curse of Shadows and Thorns, and this is by L.J. Andrews. So this is the first book in a fantasy romance series. I believe it's 9 books long, and this is following a girl that is being forced to marry someone that she does not want to by her uncle. And to do this, she has to go through a dowry negotiator. Now, the dowry negotiator is named Legion, and our main character ends up, I think, having a romantic tryst with Legion, and the story goes from there. So this was actually kindly sent to me by Carrie from Books for Romance, and we are currently hosting a read-along along with Tori from Novel Life, Tiff from Tiff Talks Pages, and April from Happily Ever April, and then Hannah from Hannah Blackwell. So we're going to be having a read-along of this first book, and then a live show on my channel on October 22nd, at 5 p.m. EST. Yes, I remembered all the details. That is very exciting. But anyway, all the information will be linked down in the description below, and I'm so excited to pick this book up. And next up, we have Heavenly Bodies, and I'm going to be honest, I know almost nothing about this book. I kind of want to go into this blind. I've been waiting for the audio to release. However, there doesn't even seem to be one in the works, so I think I'm going to end up reading this physically just because so many of my friends are loving this series so far. Like, everyone is raving about it. I haven't seen a single negative review, so I'm so excited to jump into this. And this was very kindly gifted to me from Tori from the channel Novel Life, so I will have her channel linked down in the description below. Thank you so much, Tori. I cannot wait to read this. And next up, we have A Dawn of Onyx. So this is a dark fantasy romance. We are following a girl who ends up saving her brother, but in doing so, she has to pledge loyalty to the Onyx King and is forced to use her magical abilities to heal his soldiers. And then I think it's her trying to like maneuver her way out of this situation. And it sounds so good. I do have some read-along plans that I'll be announcing towards the end of October. So I do plan on reading this in November. But I am just so excited. And once again, I've heard nothing but good things. And the audiobook for this is dropping, I believe, in October, or it might have dropped at the end of September. But I am just so excited. And next up, we have Feathers from the Sky, and this is by Jess Wisecup. This is the same author that wrote Between Wrath and Mercy, which I absolutely adored, but I still haven't read the second book of that series. But this first book, I thought I knew what it was about, but I just read the back, and I was apparently unbelievably wrong. So this is following Gwyn, and she has recently lost both of her parents, so she is just grieving, and she ends up self-medicating with alcohol, and one day she ends up doing a body-positive photo shoot to try to make herself feel better. Now, there's a guy named Roman who has recently lost his brother and has been stalking Gwyn, thinking that she might be responsible because she is one of the last vampire hunters on the planet, and I'm assuming the brother might have been a vampire, and this story goes from there. So I'm not exactly sure how to feel about this book. Like I said, it's getting mixed reviews, but I am really curious, and I know I love Jess Wisecup's writing, so I'm very intrigued. Let me know if you've read this in the comments and what you ended up rating it. And the next 3 books are part of Fantasy Romance series, so they're not the first book. But first up, we have Glint, and this is by Raven Kennedy. So I believe this is the second book in the Plated Prisoner series. I finally have all of the books that have been released. I'm obsessed with this series, and like I've said in like every other video where I mention this series, I DNF'd that first book 3 or 4 times until finally finishing it and pushing through the second book, and now it's my favorite series of all time. I just love the main character's growth throughout that series. It's what makes the book like so special, or that series so special. So it is a very loose King Midas like reimagining. We're following RN, who is Midas's gilded pet. King Midas's gilded pet. Midas is able to turn anything he touches into solid gold. So he has touched RN and she is gold, and he pretty much keeps her in a cage in his kingdom where he likes to show her off. And in the first book, Auron has absolutely no autonomy. She does not care about anything except for pleasing Midas and being safe. And as the series progresses, that changes and it is glorious. But anyway, this copy was so kindly gifted to me from Hannah from the channel Hannah Blackwell. So I will leave her channel link down in the description below. Thank you so much, Hannah. I'm so excited to finally own all of the books that have come out and cannot wait to read Gold when it releases. And next up, we have The Blood is Love, and this is the sequel to Black Sunshine by Karina Halle. So I read Black Sunshine when it first released in audio, and then this book never came out on audio until this year, so I recently reread Black Sunshine, and it is still a 5-star read. So in that story, we are following Lenore Warwick, who is a witch, and on her 21st birthday, she ends up being abducted by a vampire named Absalon, and it is Absalon and Lenore's romance. And it is so good. If you like Twilight, but you want like an adult spicy version, definitely check out Black Sunshine. But this book, The Blood is Love, is what happens after that book, and I am so excited to pick it up. The audio for this has finally released, so as soon as I'm finished filming this video, I am starting this book. And I'm the worst, and I totally forgot to mention that this was so kindly gifted to me from Nikki from the channel Nikki in Bookland. Thank you so much, Nikki. I love this vampire romance duology, and I cannot wait to read this. And next up, we have Ruin of Sea and Souls, and this is the third book in the Fae Isle series by Lisette Marshall. The first book being A Court of Blood and Bindings, and I absolutely adore that book. I have talked about that book in multiple videos, but the first book, since I really can't go into what this book is about, is following a girl who lives on a human island, and this human island is controlled by the Fae, because the Fae all possess color magic, where they are able to call on colors to create different magic. So if you want to use destruction magic, you call on red. If you want to use healing magic, you call on white. Or you can mix those colors together to create completely unique magic. So anyway, all of the Fae are controlled by the Mother, and the Mother has a henchman named the Silent Death, and that is because when he kills people, they are silent as they die, and he is very much feared by both the humans and the Fae. So anyway, our main character ends up waking up one night, and her entire town is on fire, everyone is gone, and the Silent Death himself is just standing over her, and the story goes from there, and it is so, so good. The hero in this actually isn't able to use his voice, so our main character ends up teaching him sign language, and it's just, I love their romance so, so much. And the books just keep getting better and better. I loved A Court of Blood and Bindings, but the second book was even better than the first. So I cannot wait for the audio to release. And this book was also very kindly gifted to me from Carrie from the channel Book for Romance. So thank you so much, Carrie. I cannot wait to meet you in person. And moving into werewolf and shifter romances, first up, we have Rabid by Ivy Asher and Raven Kennedy. So the story is following Seneca, and Seneca lives in a werewolf pack that when you come of age, you go through the flux, which is where you meet your werewolf spirit and they enter your body, and then you're able to shift into a werewolf. Well, anyway, in Seneca's pack, her pack has been taken over by this alpha, and this alpha really wants Seneca to become his mate, despite the fact that Seneca is absolutely repulsed by him. Now, Seneca's mother has been able to kind of keep them apart. That is until Seneca's mother mysteriously and sadly passes away. So then Seneca ends up undergoing the flux ceremony, and the alpha ends up fighting her and attempting to SA her while her wolf is starting to join her body. So when she wakes up and this guy is on top of her, her wolf takes over and becomes rabid. So what that means is there wasn't really harmony when the wolf and human connected. So she has not like split personality, but like her wolf can take over and she can take over, and they're not like joined nicely, if that makes any sense. So anyway, she's completely rabid, she's attacking everybody, and the alpha decides that he doesn't want to have this threat to his pack, so he ends up dumping Seneca in this forest that's actually protected by these very brutal werewolves that are known to kill anyone that ends up being in their territory. And the story goes from there. It is super spicy, it is super dark, and it has a very strong female badass character that I absolutely love, so highly recommend and perfect for spooky season. And next up, we have Titan. And this is a gargoyle daddy dom romance, and that is all I know about it. I will say the cover is stunning. I have started this book, and it's not exactly what I was expecting. I'm not sure if it's in a good way or a bad way. But anyway, I am vlogging reading this, and that vlog will be up on October 15th. It's a collab vlog. Let's see if you can guess who I am collabing with. But yeah, I'm very interested. I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about it, but I do love a daddy dom romance, so maybe I'll like it with a gargoyle. Who knows? But anyway, this will definitely be read in October. And next up, we have Blood Moon, and this is by Jillian Graves. So this was recommended to me by Tiff from TikTok Pages and then Ava from Ava's Romance Books. We were on a live together, and they both said that they loved this novella, and I immediately purchased it because I trust them when it comes to anything shifter and werewolf. So I'm so excited to read this. I'm probably going to end up reading this during the novella-a-thon. I'll leave all the information down in the description below. I'm not co-hosting, but I'm definitely participating. I've recently discovered novellas, and I am obsessed. So this will definitely be read this month. And I'm very excited about this next one. It is Baby and the Late Night Howlers. So this is a motorcycle club shifter romance. I will be vlogging reading this as well. That vlog, once again, will be up on October 15th. I am probably most looking forward to reading this out of all of the books in that vlog, and just because I love motorcycle club romances, and it has been quite a while since I've read one, and I'm pretty sure this is also Why Choose, which just sounds so good. So this was very kindly gifted to me from McKay from the channel Oh Hey It's McKay. Thank you so much. I know she really enjoyed this book, which makes me even more excited to pick it up. And next up, we have Captive of the Horde King, and this is by Zoe Draven. This is the first book in a, I guess you would call it a monster romance series, or a horde romance series. You guys get the drift. But I read this over the summer, and I really enjoyed it. So we are following this girl that lives on another planet where humans are kind of controlled by these hordes. Not necessarily controlled, they just kind of have to follow the rules that are like laid down by the hordes. But anyway, our main character's brother ends up, I think, starting a fire or does something against the law. And when the horde comes to kill him, she ends up offering herself as like a sacrifice. So she is then taken to the Horde King, where she is married to him, and it is their romance. And it's really just following our main character as she realizes that she was very naive and made all of these like preconceived notions about this horde without actually knowing them at all. And it ended up being a very cute story. So I definitely want to read more in this series. And this book was very kindly gifted to me from Lizelle from Lizelle Loves Books. I will link her down in the description below. So thank you so much, Lizelle. I'm obsessed with this cover. So I am so excited to have a physical copy. And last up, we have Obsession, which is the first book in a shifter or paranormal romance series. I think it actually also has vampires and other like paranormal creatures. But this book in particular, we are following a girl who ends up denying her mate, and then I think 7 years goes by. She wants to have a fresh start at this like paranormal university. However, she's kind of seen as a pariah because she is unable to shift. And as a werewolf, it's pretty important that you can shift into your wolf form. And to top it all off, the guy that she rejected ends up going to this same university. And it goes from there. That's all I really know, but I will be reading this book. This is the last book that I'll be reading as part of that vlog that is coming out on October 15th. So I'm very much looking forward to checking this out. I know a lot of my friends have read it and really enjoyed it. And this book was also gifted to me from Tori from Novel Life. There's another book on here that was gifted to me from Tori because she's unbelievably generous and just so sweet. So thank you so much, Tori. I am so excited to read this book. And next up, we have Scream for Us, and this is by Molly Doyle. This is apparently a Halloween-inspired, like, erotica short story, and I've heard it is very spicy and very good. I wasn't exactly sure where to put this in terms of, like, timestamps, so I kind of lumped it in with monsters and shifters, but I don't think it actually has either of those in it. But either way, a lot of my friends have said they really enjoyed this, and they figured this was, like, the perfect spooky novella for Halloween. Moving into dark romance, first up we have The Cult by Penelope Sky. So I saw this around Bookstagram last year and I wanted to give it a try, and I actually ended up enjoying it. I think I rated it 3.5 stars. But the story is following a dancer who ends up being approached by a guy who is searching for a woman and his daughter. Now, the dancer doesn't recognize the woman or the daughter and he ends up leaving, but soon after that she starts being stalked by this guy that has a creepy smile and just keeps coming to her dances and has this like very intense like smile plastered onto his face, and then she starts being stalked by not only him but then other people that are either wearing masks or just super creepy, and she goes to police, no one believes her, and she ends up being abducted. So she turns out the guy that was smiling is actually a demon, and he has a bunch of members in this cult, and this cult collects angels for demons, angels just being very attractive women, and these angels are supposed to help the demons in this cult end up finding like salvation, and the story goes from there. It is very dark, very twisty. I wasn't really sure why this was classified as a romance. Towards the end of the book, I can see that it's setting up for romance. However, nothing really romantic happens in this first book, like at all. I have not read the sequel yet. I will definitely be doing so in October. But yeah, if you're looking for like a spooky cult type book, definitely check this book out. And next up, we have A Long for the Ride, and this is by Lauren Beale. This is the same author that wrote Hitched, which is a dark hitchhiker romance. Super, super dark. Check all the trigger warnings. But anyway, as soon as I finished it, I added this book to my wish list because I was like, I need to read everything this woman writes, just because Hitch was like so twisty and spicy. Like, I read it in one sitting. So I'm so excited to check out this book. So I believe this is following a girl that ends up leaving her boyfriend and then gets picked up by two hitmen that are brothers that like can't stand each other. So maybe it has like a whole group thing going on. It should be really good. But anyway, this was gifted to me from Cheyenne from the channel That Tall Book Girl. I remember when I was reading Hitched, I was like constantly voice memoing Cheyenne being like, this is so good. So I am so thankful. So thank you so much, Cheyenne, for this book. I cannot wait to read it. And next up, we have Tide by Carrie and Cole. I'm not really sure if you would classify this as dark romance, but it does deal with some very like dark and emotional topics. We're following this girl that ends up being kidnapped and held in this like bunker, and she ends up being found by this guy who's covered in tattoos and is scarred, and it is their romance. Now she is dealing with everything that comes with being kidnapped and SA'd and held against her will for years, so she really doesn't know how to like survive in the outside world. And then you have this recluse who is horribly scarred and doesn't speak, I'm pretty sure, from what I remember. It's been a couple years since I read this. But anyway, I remember absolutely loving this romance and it just being like so emotional, and I cannot wait to do a reread. I think I'm going to reread Torn and Tide in November, both by the same author, and I just received physical copies for both books. So Torn I had in another book haul, but that was gifted to me from Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life, so thank you so much, Crystal. It was one of my favorite age gap romances. And then Tide was just gifted to me by Christy from Christy Reads a Lot, so thank you so much, Christy. This book had quite a journey getting here. There were a couple packages that like got lost via Amazon, but they all were received, which is very exciting. But anyway, I cannot wait to reread this, and thank you, Crystal and Christy, so, so much. And next up, we have Hold, and this is by Claire Kent. So I read this last month, and I absolutely loved it. I did not think I was going to enjoy this novella, but I did. So this is following a girl who ends up committing a crime, and she's sentenced to live in this, like, underground jail or prison, except the prisoners are free to roam. So essentially the prison guards just like send food and stuff into this prison, but all of the prisoners are able to interact. So being a woman in this prison is like the worst thing ever because you're essentially attacked as soon as you get there, and most of them end up dying unless they find a very strong inmate to kind of like protect them in exchange for like services. So anyway, that is exactly what happens with our main character. The prison guard says, hey, find the strongest guy there and partner up with him, give him anything he wants, and that's the only way you're going to survive. So that is what our main character does, and it's their romance, and it is so good. So if you are like new to Claire Kent, definitely try out this book. I really, really enjoyed it. And next up, we have Fractured Souls, and this is book 6 in the Perfectly Imperfect Mafia Romance series. This was sent to me by Ava from Ava's Romance Books, so thank you so much, Ava. I love this series. I actually ended up sending Ava, I think, this book and another of the Perfectly Imperfect books for her birthday. I just feel like everyone needs to read this series, especially if you're new to Mafia Romance. This is a great place to start because these books will make you so attached to the characters, but they're also like crazy short and they're just amazing. They have great chronic illness and disability rep, and I'm just absolutely obsessed. So I read up to book 5. I haven't picked up the 6th book yet. I'm waiting for the audiobook to drop, but oh my gosh, this series is amazing, which is why I also had the bind-up of the first 3 books on my wish list, and my aunt was so sweet and ended up buying me it. So thank you so much. I will buy every single version of this series that I can find just because I want to support this author, and I love these books so, so much. Once again, my all-time favorite Mafia Romance series. And next up is a post-apocalyptic romance. It is The Last Light by Claire Kent. So this is by the same author that also wrote that novella Hold I was just talking about. And I read this as part of a collab vlog I did with Jen from the Book Refuge, where she takes over my TBR. So I will leave that in the cards and in the description. But Jen is actually the one who so kindly sent me this book, along with A King of Flesh and Bone, and I just realized I totally forgot to include that in this video. But thank you so much, Jen, for both books. But this book in particular is following a girl who, after the world is essentially, I forget exactly what happened, but for some reason the world is almost uninhabitable, her parents end up passing away, so she decides that she is going to travel for, I think, like 3 or 4 states to try to find the community that she used to live in before they left to try to find like a nicer area. Anyway, she's traveling on her own. She ends up seeing this guy who used to be a mechanic, who used to kind of like help her out, fixed her car at one point, but they never really interacted besides that. He offers to help take her to this new community, but she's like, no, I'm fine on my own. He doesn't really trust this. He ends up following her, and she does end up, I think, being attacked, and he ends up saving her, so they decide they're going to travel together to this like safer community, and in their travels, they slowly fall in love, and it is so good. So actually, while I was reading this, I remember having a couple of reactions of like not loving it because this book is very realistic. So there's a lot of references to like the main guy having a certain smell, and I'm like, yeah, he has a certain smell because he's showered in days. So there were things like that, but also I kind of like the fact that this author doesn't shy away from real life problems. Like at one point, our main character has her period, and she has to find feminine products because like that's something that would happen in apocalypse. Like women still have that. So overall, I really enjoyed this book, and thank you so much, Jen. And next up is a romantic suspense that I actually read last month. It had been a while since I read any, and then I saw Jess from Peace Love Books video where she recommended this book. I ended up picking it up, and funny enough, Jess actually sent me this copy for my birthday, so thank you so much, Jess. But this book is following Sloane, and when she is a teenager, she ends up getting pregnant by this guy who's kind of like a bad dude. So anyway, she is sharing custody with her daughter's father, despite the fact that he is a criminal. And then there's an altercation, something happens, and Sloane decides to protect her daughter and herself. She's going to move to the Highlands. So she ends up moving there. She's working, I think, as a maid in a hotel. And one of the guys that works there is this like security guard. I forget his name, but he has this like instant attraction to Sloane. However, he wants to like stay away from women, and he's like very, very serious. But anyway, it is their romance. And this was really good. So I ended up reading this, I think, on like a Sunday. I just had it playing all day, and it definitely kept my attention. Definitely check out the audiobook. I love the accent of the main guy, and I will definitely be reading more from this author. All right, so the rest of these are just like contemporary romances. So first up we have Out on a Limb, and this is by Hannah Bonnam-Young. I know zero about this book. I don't know a single thing about it. I just know that all of my friends were obsessed with it, and I heard the audiobook is going to be released later this year. So I decided I needed a physical copy. I think it ended up being on sale at Amazon at some point, and I just ended up buying it like as an impulse buy. But I'm still not sure how I feel about this cover, but I am very excited to read this. So as soon as that audiobook releases, I'll leave all the information down with the release date down in the description below. I will 100% be reading this. And this is another book that I know very little about, besides the fact that it is a sports romance, and everyone has messaged me and told me that I need to read this. I'm typically not a huge fan of sports romances. However, I have read a few that I really ended up enjoying. Home Game is one I can think of off the top of my head. A bunch of ones by Mariana Zapata. But anyway, I think this is about an NBA player, and then he ends up dating his sister's friend, possibly. But anyway, this has been on my radar forever, and Liz Tomforde, the author, has recently started coming out with audiobooks, so I'm hoping this ends up being released in audio very, very soon so I can check it out. But this physical copy was sent to me by Sam from Sam Reads a Little, so thank you so much, Sam. I know you really enjoyed this book, and I just cannot wait to pick it up. And next up, we have One Last Rainy Day, and this is the companion novel that was released by Kate Stewart for the Ravenhood series, and this is from Dom's POV. If you know, you know. I am waiting to get up like my emotional resolve to pick this book up because I know it's going to absolutely shatter me. Yeah, I'm very nervous. But this book was also gifted to me from Tori from Novel Life because she is the sweetest human on the planet. So thank you so much, Tori. I cannot wait to meet you in person. We need to figure this out soon. But yeah, I am very, very excited, but also unbelievably nervous to start this book. And last up, I bought a lot of books in the Chestnut Spring series because I found out they were going out of print, and I've decided that it is my favorite cowboy romance series of all time, and I'm completely obsessed. So all of this started because I decided I was going to read Heartless, despite the fact I did not enjoy Flawless, the first book in this series. Well, Heartless is one of the best books I have ever read. I gave it 5 stars. It is my favorite age gap romance. This book is like the perfect blend of humor, spice, and emotion, and it is just so unbelievably good. It is worth all of the hype. I loved it. So when I was searching for this book, for some reason, Amazon, it was completely out of print, so I didn't get it. But I was able to track down the mirror covers because I believe these are also going out of print. Anyway, I ended up buying the mirror covers for this and then the other 2 books in the series, only to find out, so Powerless, Reckless, and Heartless, that Amazon had restocked the people covers. So then I got the people cover of Heartless, Powerless, and Reckless. And I do plan on getting, hopefully, the people cover and the mirror cover of Hopeless, the last book in the Chestnut Spring series that I am so looking forward to reading. I cannot wait. I think it comes out October 13th or 14th, and I am just so ready. Those characters, I need to see their romance. But anyway, I'm so happy I was able to get all of these physical copies. I'm obsessed with this series, and once again, completely worth the hype, and I'm so happy I gave the second book a chance. Alright guys, that is it for my giant book haul. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of the books I mentioned. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye!